hello there. Welcome back. Psychedelic here. The Bob Ross of the vinyl community. We don't make mistakes here. Just happy little accidents. I know I'm lacking with the afro. Give me a break, okay? It's hot out there. We're going through a 3-day stretch right now where it's peaking at 100 degrees. I gotta keep it cool up top. Anyways, welcome to the online finds segment this summer. Some of these go back to early June. The first one does for sure. I've just been kind of lacking picking this up. I know it was pretty cheap and I'm glad it's been repressed. I was really desperate to get the 2016-2017 Japanese press when it got repressed to 50 copies. Which I think it was unofficial, it was like a bootleg. But otherwise, this was desperate for a reissue or kind of given a new life and given what their story is. And so we got that back in 2023. We're talking about Threads of Life by Alco. Showed this one on a live stream a few live streams back. This came out in 1973 or 4. I forget the exact date. I think there's a couple different dates online. I think it was recorded in 73, came out the following year. This was a private press of 260 copies. And it was recorded in England. It was actually recorded at Itchen College in Southampton in England. They collaborated with the orchestra at the local college, asking if they could participate into this whole kind of conceptual piece, this whole suite that opens side one. It's like a 3-part suite conducted by Jonathan Palmer. And I guess initially when they did the whole showcasing or the whole concept live, the audience really responded to it. They were like really impressed by just the strategy they had in mind with collaborating with a rock band in sort of a local community. And so they thought of the idea of, well, hey, let's press this on vinyl, see if anybody's interested. And that's about as far as it got, with passing copies to family and friends, and just never received any more attention other than that. And so once the internet came around, it got a different life. People were wondering, well, what's the backstory on this group? And since then, it's a Psychedelic Baby magazine. Did an interview online, which is very extensive, and I recommend you check it out. I think it's got some cool photographs on there last I checked. Inner sleeve here, which talks a little bit about their story in very fine print. And then we got some lyrics on the back. So stylistically, what do we got here? So it's basically a progressive rock band, but progressive in a way where it's very DIY. When you listen to this, the first suite, it's got this very primal, DIY, low budget, school auditorium production kind of quality to it. But their arrangements, the way they have arranged this track, are very much in a progressive rock, light kind of way. Obviously, coming from a post-psychedelic era, some of those flavors do linger on, especially on the second side with Waiting to be Born, which is kind of the track that really prompted me to get this one. That's like an all-timer for me as far as kind of this warm analog synth working throughout the whole track. You got these electronics kind of swirling in the mix, these wind gust sound effects, really good vocals. It's very film soundtrack era Floyd sounding. That's the track Waiting to be Born. Otherwise, the rest of side B is just kind of general pop rock kind of stuff. It's pretty decent, but not to the heights of Waiting to be Born or the suite that opens up. But originally when this came out, there were some barbershop quartet pieces that ended side B. And I think the only reason that they did that was because they were just trying to fill up the gaps and some of the dead space on the vinyl, just to kind of fill it up. And so that's really all that was. So thankfully this reissue erases all those, and this is just the music from Alco. And when you listen to that suite, there's a lot of things to pick up on, like the dampening of the drum kit. It's very reverb heavy. I mean, you can tell it's recorded in this concert hall. And I guess the way they had to record it too, they had to do like a video feed for the drummer while he was behind these drapes. And he had to kind of see what they were conducting. And so there's a little bit of like a very tiny, small time delay with their playing. And all you hear up front are some of the vocals, obviously, which I think were done maybe afterwards. But the classical arrangements come in pretty bright, and in the cymbals too, when they crash, it kind of bleeds through the mix. So not the best mix in the world, but that kind of gives it that private press, oddball charm to it that we all look up upon. Yeah, Threads of Life. I love that artwork too, where it's like coming out of the egg. Seven-inch acetate on the very end that was unissued. So yeah, definitely not for everybody, but you could find this for about 20 bucks, I think, online. And like I said, prior to this, there was a Japanese press of 50 copies. This is on Sealy Court. Didn't know if I mentioned that earlier. Definitely a label to look into if you're into those UK DeRoy Sound Service acetates. They're doing some licensing here, trying to revive some of these. Some of them not so great, but always interesting titles. So, Threads of Life. I'll try to get some samples in within the video.
Laughing as we talked, sheltered from the sudden showers.
This is one that's probably been in the want list for about 5 years or so. I don't know why I didn't pick up on it early on. I mean, for the longest time it was maybe like a $10 to $15 LP for the longest time. Then I saw people wanting to sell their copies for 80, 90 bucks. I'm like, it just doesn't belong there. So thankfully, copies have kind of settled back, and I got this for like 10 bucks plus shipping. And this is Charles Lloyd with his album Warm Waters. This came out in '71. And this kind of finds Charles Lloyd in his sort of meditative, spiritual, gone vegan time period where he was kind of wanting to mix things up a little bit and get out of the whole traditional hard bop, post bop, jazz world, and kind of maybe do a little more rock-oriented things, and this is one that qualifies. So just prior to this, he was helping the Beach Boys out with their album Surf's Up, doing some, I think he was a sax player, doing some sax arrangements, and in a way that the Beach Boys thanked him was that they offered a couple contributions on here with the first two tracks, All Life Is One, where they do some background vocals, and then the next track, How Sweet, was co-written by Mike Love, and I think he does vocals on there too. Yeah, opens up really, it's very kind of somber, very maybe nocturnal, kind of folk light, very communal in a sense, with these like communal vocals all working together. And Charles Lloyd in particular, he's got this very like kind of creepy vocal approach, kind of interesting. Then you got a couple tracks like Freedom. My favorite track, maybe Rusty Toy, opens up side 2, where he gets a little more bluesy. Even though it is bluesy, I do really like where it goes. It's got this kind of Monterey festival kind of energy to it. Like the last third of the track, it gets a little spacey, and they do these like tribal drumming with these like electronic spaced out effects, and you're kind of like, whoa, where's this going? And then that leads us to new anthem, Warm Waters. Really depicts like what the album cover shows here, where you're kind of looking out at a dusk. It's a very picturesque kind of dusk landscape. Maybe looking out at, it kind of reminds me of like Carmel by the Sea type of landscape. Gives me that kind of energy when I listen to this, you know, very West Coast, along the coast. And then it kind of ends off with a 3-piece here called It's Getting Late, Malibu, and Good Night. So you got some pretty mellow folk moments. Dips a little bit into psych, but not a whole lot. You know, sort of that post-counterculture kind of going in towards spiritual new agey kind of space. It's on cap label as well. And you got some other guests on here too, besides the Beach Boys. You got John Cipollina from Quicksilver Messenger Service, Dave Mason, who's the other guy? Jesse Edwin Davis, and a few other guests on here. Billy Wolf on guitar. Got a cap label. And yeah, if you spot this for, you know, $10 or less, I'd say pick it up, see what you think of it. It's yeah, kind of a disc you want to listen to maybe sort of like in the late evening. Like I said, around dusk time, it really sets a mood. This one had some nice surprises to offer within. So, Warm Waters by Charles Lloyd. There's only a few tracks on YouTube, unfortunately. The whole thing's not on there, but Rusty Toy and All Life is One is on there. So give those tracks a sample to warm up to. Something I just decided to pick up on. I was looking back, because I am a part of the Funk Night alumni, and I was looking at some of their catalogs, see what they're putting out this year, if there was anything interesting. And of course, one of the more all-star musicians on the label, Misha Panflov, collaborated with an artist this year, Tomo Katsurada, with their album Eternal Almost. It's like those two there, and they came together to uproot this flower there. Kind of a cosmic flower. So I think this came out back in maybe, I want to say April of this year. I know it came out a little earlier than when I purchased this. I like the 8-bit quality artwork there too. So if you know the music of Misha, I do have one of his albums with the sound combo. That's how I got introduced to the whole Funk Night label. He's definitely doing like a worldly take on sort of that throwback of 70s library music, mixing with exotica, tropicalia, psychedelic, jazz, all sorts of flavors. And then once you get the collaboration with Tomo, he was previously in a psych band. I forget the name right now. It's like Kikamagu. I forget what the title is. I'll put it here somewhere. And I've been listening to their output too lately, just trying to get a sense of what he was all about in that band, because I think he was like the lead guy in that group. And that was like a psych band, and like the 2010s is when they were most active. I think they're taking a break right now. But no, when those two worlds collide, considering that Misha's more Estonian and Tomo's from Japan, but I think they're both located in like Amsterdam. Is that right? I got to get my facts right here. It says it was recorded in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and Estonia. So I'm guessing maybe they're doing some file sharing back and forth. Yeah, it says it came out April of this year. Future Days Radio. Show some of the inner sleeve here. Funk Night. So musically, yeah, this is a kind of interesting blend of kind of like a electronic meets psych folk, meets kind of like a funky edge, half vocals, half instrumental on here. It's very soundtrack-like. I mean, these are tracks that you would hear in like maybe a sort of a vintage, modern throwback kind of feel, kind of film. And I really love what they do here. I'll just give you some highlights. Symbol. Two different definitions there. Symbol. And what's the other big one? 100 Spirits. It's like about an 8-minute track. They do a lot of repetitive loops on some of these verses, but the way they do them are they kind of remind me like krautrock, but not in like a heavy way. It's kind of like more the dreamscapes that they come up with. Kind of building off these ideas of electronic, mixing with these kind of watery, wet guitar sounds, maybe some like Moog synthesizers. It's just a really interesting blend, and I was really hooked on this one when I listened to it. And just recently listened to this on one of my bike rides. I'll be putting some footage of that in the beginning here. Just really falling into it, so I'm gonna have to check out and see if they put anything else out. I need to pick up more of Misha's material too. Okay, and this is the last one I picked up. I actually got this in the mail yesterday. I was quite surprised. I picked this up about 3 days ago now. I guess it was in Minnesota, so it makes sense how it arrived so soon. This is At the Apex of High by Frolkhaven. And if you know this one, you know that there's a bit of a cult following with this, considering who's on it. Stuart Bartholonius Copeland Yes, the Stuart Copeland of the Police. This is like the first thing he's ever credited with back in 1973, back when he was a student at Berkeley, going to art school. And yeah, even though that's kind of cool trivia about this, I actually did remember liking this when I listened to it, some years ago. It's a very strange one though, man. Compared to Alco, considering it's a college-produced sort of record, this one gets pretty bizarre, and sometimes you're kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. Like, okay, is this going to pick up, or is it going to kind of linger on this for a while? Because most of side one, it's a lot of these just guitar noodles, a lot of guitar passages, very minimal drumming. There's like a clarinet going off every so often. But there's 3 different tracks on side one, and it's like very nonsensical, kind of a little bit like dreadful, like, okay, are we gonna just kind of fiddle around a little bit, or are we waiting for some excitement? But I think that's part of what this whole project was, is that seeing if an idea would spark and see if they would just try to build off of that. Although I think some of these songs were actually written, once you get to side 2, things do get a little more interesting. They go through these like electronic passages. What's the track on side 2? It's like Zonation of Galactic Cosmodial Entities. It's like a 5-minute piece. They do these different kind of swirling Moog synthesizer electronic pieces. A lot more interesting than what George Harrison was doing on electronic sound, I would say. You got tracks like Backup, Quest, and Seventh Chakra. And there's like an underlying punk vibe going on here too. You got these like heavy wah guitars, the sort of beat poetry that he spits out, and some of the vocals. A little bit like kind of what like the Velvet Underground was doing in their early days, where sometimes it's just kind of make some noise and see where it goes. Very free improv style. I wouldn't say it's all tripped out, or even the word psychedelic doesn't really come to mind when you think of this. Although it is featured in the Acid Archives, this is very much a top tier title for that book. But all I could say is it's interesting and not for the faint at heart. Definitely want to tread lightly in this one. But I ended up kind of liking it. I got to warm up to side 1 a little bit more. But what they're doing on side 2, it's like a very, again, kind of a primitive, low budget friendly kind of excursion going on here. I think that Stuart Copeland was a part of this. Makes it kind of interesting. This is a 90s press, by the way. I don't think the original is like stupid scarce, like in $1,000 range. I think it's below that. But this is like a 90s unofficial. Sounds like a good duplicate to me. And sometimes the guitar too, I forgot to mention, even though it does have some wah-wah action going on, there's like this weird, sometimes it hits the phasing button and there's like a lot of flange or phasing guitar working on here too. So kind of minimal. Just check it out, see what you think.
Walls to protect, a spell inside, enslaved to its process of death.
That leads us to our 2 packages here. The first one's from Dom. So we recently had a Psych Purge Part 2 on this channel, and I obviously am going to always show up for those. But I was pretty content with this one. I was thinking, well, don't really need any of those titles. I already have a lot of these, and some of them don't interest me as much. So then it was about a week later, I decided, I might just check out his Google spreadsheet, see if there was one in particular that I had sold, and it hadn't yet. So I streamed it, and I thought, considering that the guy is fairly much in the background compared to the music, I'll take a chance on this. And yes, we're going nipple friendly on this channel with the Lover's Tarot card and the Chariot on the back. Yeah, I'd rather have this be the front with old man Father Yod plopping his ass on the Rolls Royce, but hashtag free the nips. Anyways, this is called I'm Gonna Take You Home by Yahawa 13 and the Source family. This came out like, 1974, 75. They had just a whole slew of records that got released back then. The only other one I have is Penetration. That's always one I've considered to be my favorite. But it had been a long time since I heard this, and whatever the other one was with the images of all them in front of the Rolls Royce. Don't dig that one as much. And I say the less yod, the better. Because when it comes to his voice, man, he needs to tone it down a bit. I know he gets inspired once he hits that timpani and starts yelling and bellowing out. It makes all these buzzing sounds and these whistling noises. But I could do without, I think. The backing music on here is actually pretty good. So he does yell a little bit more on here than, say, the Penetration record. But again, this is also nonsensical, but in a good way. It's like very stoned, very stinky hippie vibes, coming from a cult family. Yeah, I really do enjoy this one. Love the whole lore of the Source family, obviously. I've seen the documentary, I've read the articles, and it's fascinating, to say the least. And this is like a, unofficial nom? I think it is. Like the 2000s maybe. Still sounds pretty good. And I think it was originally a 2 LP, is that right? With a gatefold. I think this just condensed it down to one singular disc. And yeah, what can I say, man? Check out Yahawa 13, get on that flight, and maybe you won't come back. Thanks again, Dom, for sending me this my way. And then out of his good old heart, man, was not expecting this from him. He was very gracious enough to send this one my way, because I had just mentioned him, I messaged him about, I was kind of thinking about this one too, but I'll pick it up someday, and he just slips this in the package. Can't thank you enough, Dom. So this is Cavern Sound, Local Customs. It's the numeral group that came out in 2014. Some years back. It came with a CD. It's a 2 LP set of not all the sessions from Cavern Sound Studios, but a lot of the more memorable and chunky pieces from there. So the Cavern Sound Studios was actually a recording studio in Independence, Missouri. It's like a suburb of Kansas City. And I've driven there actually. It's only a 3-hour drive for me. And although it's Kansas City and not Nebraska, I've always kind of considered this sound studio partially locally for me. It's only a 3-hour drive, and many of these singles have kind of crept up this way, not only just on the Cavern label, but say the Cave label, the Pierce label, Lion Records, which is not associated with Cavern, but it's a local studio down there, have all crept up this way, and I've kept like 2 or 3 of them so far. And I actually got one here to share from the compilation. This is one I found in southeast Nebraska, which makes sense regionally. Found the Burlington Express One Day Girl. Fairly decent shape. Could have been a lot worse shape when I found it. In a barn. And it plays. Played it on a live stream a few times. Very cool pickup there. I think it's highlighted on the first page too of the booklet. Comes with a really nice fat booklet here, showcasing some of the different labels there, Pierce and Cave. I love how in the 45 center there is kind of like you're entering the cave. It's like how they designed it, the whole cavern. So it was like a limestone mine, and it's still there to this day. I think they got some businesses in there yet. I've driven outside of the entrances a couple times on some of my vacation trips there. But I was always afraid of the idea, once I go in, am I going to find my way out? Almost seems like it's a maze on some of the videos I've seen of inside that place. And sometimes it's kind of darkly lit. You don't know if you're going to end up in a tunnel where there's water at the end. It's kind of a spooky idea. It's like a good hiding spot once we get bombed, man. It features a few artists that you may be familiar with, like Bulbous Creation is from down there. Of course, the big single, Pretty, Mustache in Your Face, which opens up the album. Kind of blasts off with that one. It's one of the most iconic looking 45 labels there. What's the other big one? Morning Star. It's a big local artist there. I'm actually looking for their single. I did come across it once in one of the shops in town, but they were asking like 150 just because it had the picture sleeve, which is this here. This one doesn't feature their 45 though. This features like another single or recording they made there because that single was on Lion Records. And they covered the track If I Didn't Want to See You Anymore, which was actually done by another group here. Let's see if I can find them real quick. Yeah, Larry Sands and the Sound Affair actually wrote that track, and then Morning Star covered it. So here you get a little bit of the track listing, some of the clientele, and just a really well put together package here for such a small studio. Talking about, you know, little bios about every band and some really cool photographs. Some of my other favorite highlights on here. I love the band Jaded on here. I love both of their tracks, Lovin' You Blues and The King Was. It's got a really good sound quality to it. I would have loved to hear a archival LP from those guys. The Dantes, the band Tide on here. They have an LP, which I've come across several times, Almost Live. It's kind of a mixture of like garage, psych, but there's also a couple, you know, a few jazz rock moments, maybe a couple soul moments. Yeah, largely counterculture oriented. And they started out, I think the whole studio idea conceptualized when one of the engineers or one of the crew people were helping out this gospel group with the Latter-day Saints church. Wanted some recordings inside the cave, and obviously with the reverberation, the whole sound stage, it was kind of like the perfect idea for a gospel group. And eventually, you know, country came into the picture, pop, rock, the whole works once the scene was kind of changing. So really cool. Love that front shot there too of them hanging out in the cave. Get a little inside look here. Lots of information you can look up online about this. Thank you so much, Dom. Really do appreciate the friendship, man. Over the years. Got to show this one too. This is like a postcard. There you have it. Cavern Sound Studios. And I already got that CD in my car, so whenever I go on a long road trip, we'll pop that sucker in. All right, and that leads us to our last one here. This is one that I picked up from, if you know him on Instagram, Papa Duke Tyler. Doesn't post a whole lot, but he's one of those guys, one of those youngins. I call him my son, jokingly, because, well, he was probably talking to me when I was like, I don't know, 20-something, and he was a little toddler. No, he's probably about 10 years younger than I am, and we just kind of communicated back and forth back in the early days, and I've known him a long time. You might see him on YouTube occasionally in the live streams, Tyler. And yeah, we communicate back and forth. I've always given him a lot of free records over the years, and this is one I finally bought off of him. He returned the favor with this. This is Something Else by the Kinks. Of course, we just talked about the Kinks, and I've been wanting this one a lot longer than Village Green. And I have to say, out of these two, I much prefer this one. Just a step more. I don't know, it's something about the songs I can kind of relate to a bit more. David Watts, Two Sisters. Love the harpsichord on there. Harry Rag. Situation Vacant. Love Me Till the Sun Shines. Love the bass work on there. And of course, Waterloo Sunset. Just doesn't get any more pop perfection than that. And yeah, give me a good deal on this. It's a little worn. You know, not the best shape. It's kind of hard to find in good shape. Record plays a lot better though. It's like a solid VG to VG Plus. On the old school Steamboat label. Reprise. I don't know if he's a avid watcher. I know we communicate a lot more through Instagram, but he'll chime into some of the live streams occasionally. Ray Davies in the group. Don't know what else more to say other than that. I mean, these guys were Well, they were kind of banned from the US for a while, which made them kind of fall back into their footsteps with discovering their whole world of English writing, and moved out to English cottages and got inspired. And each song just really has its own personality. It's really got its own singular flourish on the whole pop rock scene at the time. Really good pieces of pop here. Something Else by the Kinks, maybe my favorite of theirs. So there you have it. As you're seeing this video, I'm probably taking a little vacation time. I got to use up my vacation out at work. So I almost got like a whole week off. So I'll be back home, possibly going to see Astral Yacht Buddy. We'll have to see though. I'd love to do another Discogs randomized button sort of video. It seemed like a lot of people responded, or it resonated with some people, and I enjoyed it too. Had some interesting polls there. Love when that happens. That's all I got for now. Take care. Thanks for joining me, and let me know what you think of these. Till next time.
Let's do our top 10 list tonight from the home office in Lincoln, Nebraska. Top 10 fears of Snuggles, the fabric softener bear. Top 10 fears of Snuggles, the fabric softener bear.
By the bed.
Yeah, are you familiar with Snuggles?
I'm not
the fabric?
really, but I'm sure he's a very cute
Yeah,
character.
I think I've seen him, a little tiny bear, and they use him to market this deadly poisonous fabric softener.